I'm Casey Abel, and we're going to present on basically transitioning and wrapping up that semester for your student organization. So I know that you guys are from Hall Council for Lincoln, right? And where are you guys from?
PRSSA in Tiaga.
Okay, very cool. So kind of some different organizations, but hopefully this can help you with kind of your transitioning from one semester to the next, especially with only 4 weeks left of the school year. So are you all I know that you said that you're not graduating, but
We both have a year left.
okay, so you both will be, everyone will be here next year. Okay, so that kind of helps too with getting an idea of not only what to have ready for next year, but then also what to leave behind once you graduate next year. So start off.
Okay, so I've worked with a couple different organizations that have done some different things for a summer retreat or what to do during the summer. I found the easiest thing to work on over the summer is something like an officer binder. So it could be something that the outgoing officer is putting together, or something that you could have the new officer just look over and make additions to. I know I've worked in some offices that have had really great officer transition binders, and some where I've kind of developed my own system over the summer. Summer is a good time to do those because they can be kind of time consuming, but then it will kind of get everyone on the same page once you get back in August. Another thing I would suggest is an executive retreat. We always do that for student government, where we all come to campus for a day in July. We just do one day, and we kind of sit down and plan out the entire semester. We don't really set like anything hugely concrete, but it kind of puts us all on the same page. Will refocus us halfway through the summer, and so then when we get back in August, we can hit the ground running. So I think those are two things. Obviously, one, the officer binders being something that you could do individually. And you would only need contact to via email or maybe an occasional telephone call, or you could have an executive retreat where you actually all come together face to face to have a planning meeting for the rest of your year.
The other thing with those officer binders is, have you guys heard of Dropbox?
It's very cool.
Dropbox. Basically, it's a tool that when you go to Dropbox.com, you can download it, and you can download it onto, like I have it on my office computer, and I also have it on my laptop at home. And that way, I can put files that I saved from my office computer into my computer. It'll automatically save into my computer at home as well, because it's through Dropbox.com. So I know some of the organizations that I'm part of will have a specific Dropbox folder for that organization, and then you're able to almost put those officer binders into a document that is online and can be used and revamped year after year, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time.
And that way too, everyone's officer binders will kind of resemble each other, set up the same way, just with the same table of contents, whether you do that chronologically or based on certain events, whatever it may be, so then everyone can use those kind of interchangeably.
Okay, so kind of talking about, I know that you guys aren't leaving quite yet, but just talking about leaving legacy, and this will really help you when you're focusing on the way that you want to conduct yourself in your organization next year. I'm sure that as seniors, you're probably taking a little bit of a larger role in those organizations, and so think about what kind of legacy you want to leave. Do you want to have that relational legacy, or do you want to have more of that organizational legacy? And I think that it's important to have both of those balances. When you're thinking about that. Relational, of course, people are going to remember you for those friendships that you make and those outside connections, that networking that you can do within that organization that really helps out later on in life, but also some of the programming that you do within that organization, how you guys made it fun. And those are some of the things that people are going to remember about you when they're talking about you when you're gone. As far as organizational, a lot of those policy changes and then the new traditions that you're setting. So, like I said, you don't want to have to reinvent the wheel, but if there's a policy in place that you really think could use some changing, now's the time to do it. And they're going to remember those positive impacts that you made. And so balancing both those relational aspects and then also those professional and organizational aspects are something to kind of look to. Again, passing the baton. So questions that you can ask, I don't know, are you all in a leadership role right now, or are you going to assume that leadership role come fall. Have you been elected into a new position recently?
You've just been nominated for us.
Yeah.
Okay, and you guys have,
We're currently.
okay, got it. So, I mean, some of those questions that you might want to ask when you're coming into your new role are, who are the top 5 people I need to know? Some organizations may know that. Others, it might be an office administrator or a secretary that is really helpful and you didn't realize until a certain point about how much work they actually do with your organization or for your organization. So some behind the scenes people that you might not have any idea are so pivotal to your organization. What was the biggest mistake you made? Of course, you want to phrase this in a nice way, but kind of asking that, or if you could go back and redo something or an event, what would it be and why? So just getting an idea of what are some different changes that they would have made or that they would like to see. What was your most challenging issue and how did you handle it? So not only getting maybe some of those inner organization politics that always come with an RSO, but knowing a little bit more about those and then also knowing how the predecessor handled those situations and what the policy is. Some of those might be open knowledge, others might be confidential, so they can't tell you the exactly what happened, but at least you'll know how to handle those things in the future so that it's consistent throughout and not just ending with their reign. Anything you wanted to do but didn't have time, and this kind of goes with changes that need to be made, but maybe there's a huge project that the person really wanted to get on, but then something else came up, and it might be a great idea and it just didn't get off on the ground like it should have. So knowing those things ahead of time is really helpful as well. And then also, how did you stay organized? Of course, that organizational style, it might not work for you, but at least knowing that, and they might have some great ideas or tools, tips, that sort of thing that you never knew about. So, kind of going off on the binder idea that Casey had with the executive board, I know that one of the big things is knowing exactly what happened with the money while you were part of that organization and making sure that the people that take over from that point on know where the money went and what it was allotted for. So just making sure, double checking, I'm not sure what roles you all have. Is anyone the treasurer in their group? Or like the president, vice president? Okay, so I mean, you're going to be overseeing that money and want to know exactly what's going on, even if you're not the treasurer. So just making sure that maybe your treasurer takes those steps to make sure that there are those financial forms to be filled out. I'm not exactly sure how your organizations do things, but I know that like with check requests and that sort of thing for the organizations that I'm a part of, we always have to have that proper documentation. You have to have a certain number of people sign off on the checks, all that kind of thing. Also making sure that those receipts that are used are itemized so that you know exactly what they were used for. If you had an ice cream social, know exactly, I mean, even it helps to know, okay, how much ice cream was bought. If we look at this receipt, we can tell, and that way we don't have to go back and guesstimate and order a ton more than we need for next year. It's just all right there. So something as simple as that, it may seem small and really kind of nitpicky, but it'll help you in the long run. And then also making those bank adjustments. And do you all have a university account, or are you with you have a university account? Okay, so just making sure that the people that are taking over know kind of the logistics of the university account. And then also, if you have an off-campus bank, making sure that everything is set in stone with that bank to make sure that that's all set.
The big thing with that too is making sure you have the right cosigner on checks if you did have a transition period. I know we had a problem one time, we forgot to have the two girls go to switch out the names, and we couldn't deposit checks for a while because we didn't have the right cosigners, so make sure you do that.
And it's different with every organization, so I know that Sorority Life uses a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So. As far as what encourages motivation, so when we're talking about getting your members motivated in the fall, you guys are all coming back, think about what made you motivated to join the group. Especially some of your new members, you want to make sure that you get them in those leadership positions kind of with the ground running. Get them started on those committees. Make sure that they actually feel like they're a part of the organization. So interesting work, incentives, appreciation, loyalty, growth, and personal relationships. These are all things that encourage motivation, and although they seem like something that should be part of every organization, they aren't always. And they're really important to getting people to actually want to be a part of your organization. Why do you want to come to meetings? Well, not only because you get something done, but because there are those personal relationships that you're building. Those memories that you're making. Again, we talked about those relational aspects of being part of an organization. Making sure that there is that loyalty within the organization that you're a part of, that there isn't kind of that backstabbing or gossiping that goes on. Making sure that they know that you in a leadership role are someone that they can come and talk to and feel like you're a trustworthy person that they can open up to about concerns about the organization. We'll kind of talk about avoiding burnout, and then Casey will talk about more about that summer experience and how to get groups excited for the summer. And she kind of touched on this as well, but keeping those social media avenues open, message boards, Facebook groups, any of that type of stuff, I'm sure that your groups utilize them, but how much do they really use them over the summer? That's an important time too, where if you think about it, people are probably checking their Facebook a lot to keep in touch with friends from home. So why wouldn't they check it to see, okay, what's going on for the group over the summer? What's an interesting article that might have to do with the group? What's an interesting video that has to do with PR or something like that? What's something that's going on in the world of residence life right now that happened over the summer? So just little things that get them involved and get them excited to come back in the summer or in the fall. Again, Casey talked about having those meetings. They have an executive retreat in July for student government. But even if you have an informal social event, if a lot of your members are around the Chicago or from the Chicago area, get together for lunch sometime. I mean, it's not always possible. It's, you know, if you can't all meet, then you might not want to not make people feel included. But if that is a possibility, it's something that's kind of nice and it gets people excited, but it's not something that's you have to necessarily be a part of, and it's not that you have to do it.
Doesn't take a lot of planning either to plan to meet for lunch, which is nice over the summer.
Skype is just another tool that I think we don't really think about when we're talking about organizations and working together over the summer, but if you need to have a discussion group, why not do it over Skype, you know? Google Plus is another one of those tools that you can use. And then get your members interested in fall programming with some invitations. I know that, you know, there are a lot of those online invitation sites, punchbowl.com, that sort of thing, where you can go and just draft an invitation. So if you have a barbecue that's going to be coming up that first week of school when we get back, get those members excited by sending that out in mid-July, August. You know, get them interested in coming back to school and getting back on board with your organization and keeping their mind open to perhaps becoming part of the executive board later on.
Okay, so another thing, just dealing with over the summer, everything gets really crazy at the end of the school year, especially with elections and end of the year banquets and people graduating. So once everyone gets home, it's like, okay, now what do? We just had this great semester and we want to stay plugged in and get ready for the fall. So like Alex was talking about, Facebook and social media is really important. Something really to add on that. Get together, like she was talking about, that can be as informal as lunch, or it can be as formal as planning to go to some event or something together and meeting in a central location, whether Eastern or where a lot of people are from home. Individual projects. Since we are all in different places over the summer, it's important that people have roles that they feel like they can fulfill, but they don't need entire masses to do them. So individual projects could be like a poster for Pantherpalooza. Like, you know, Pantherpalooza is coming up. You have someone in your organization that's really creative, or you say, hey, over the summer, can you think of an informative poster and I'll send you information via email, and you could be creative and put something together. So marketing is a good individual project, as well as just getting things set up for the first meeting. If you guys are having a barbecue or something like that, you can go ahead and place those orders over the summer. And that's something that even a general member can do. It's not that hard, so you don't have to feel like you have to have an executive board member do all of those little tasks. Again, Pantherpalooza, it's going to be the first Wednesday that we get back next year. That's the 4th of August. So a lot of people can't even have meetings until then. So it's important that either before you leave for school, before summer or during the summer, to figure out who's going to work those tables, who's going to be there, what's going to be at your table, if you need to buy anything to hand out to members, or if you need to create that marketing. So that's a really good summer project. It's important to check emails for registration, especially your president, because they're still going to be getting emails from the RSO listserv. Like you guys know, once we get back to campus, we hit the ground running when it comes to events and getting involved and having new students here. So registration usually looks something like this. It's always on the student government website. This is the one for last spring, and they'll get it updated before the summer for the fall event. So you want to stay plugged into those things, and checking your email is probably one of the biggest suggestions I could give for making sure you stay on track. Because I don't know about you guys, but summer does go by really fast, even if you aren't doing anything. So it's important to not get behind, so then when you do get back in the school year, you guys can start recruiting new members for your organization and having those events that really set the tone for your organization throughout the rest of the year. So just check your email, make sure you have some individual projects that members can do so they still feel plugged in, get together and use Facebook. I don't know, use Facebook or other social media.
All right. Well, that's all we have. Did you guys have any other questions that you were, or things that you were hoping to get answers to from this session? They can pertain to your organization or anything.
I think you guys really answered it. I know for us, especially being like in PR, to say like PR is all social media, so I think that's something that we really need to try to keep up with more. Just like with posting internships, scholarship is so huge. There's so many scholarships over the summer. Like posting scholarships and letting like your members know that they're available, because half the time they don't even know that sort of stuff. So I think like that's really important stuff that I just had to realize. So I think like it was helpful to like come and just remember those types of things.
Yeah, definitely. And plus, I mean, with when you were saying talking about the scholarships or even posting other things, realistically, people kind of, I think a lot of college students, they have their jobs over the summer and then they kind of, I mean, they'll go home, but it's not like you really always have something to do. I mean, I know I kind of get bored over the summer, and so that's a great time to be able to fill out those scholarship applications, because really, what else are you going to do? So.
Or even just like, I know sometimes it's forgetful that, make sure like check up on your classes, because there's so many times where you couldn't fit into a class.
It's
So I think that's good stuff, like, that's not required, but I just think it's good stuff to like let members know.
Right, well, so just like pins, yeah.
Because I know I get emails from my advisor, and those are always helpful, and so if that's on Facebook, they're gonna see it.
Yep.
So I think that stuff is just helpful, and like keep in contact with them.
Right.
Exactly.
Do you guys do any other things with your organizations over the summer that you found beneficial to keep members plugged in that we haven't really talked about?
Not that
I just joined, like, we use our Facebook page for PRSSA extensively, like, that's our main form of communication, because we're all on there pretty much. I mean, yeah, we still like email and stuff, but that's pretty much everybody's Facebook on there, so I didn't join it until this past semester,
Okay.
but, I mean, I think they use it.
I mean, I don't know about this summer how much they use it, but I think since like we're both interested in leadership positions and we are so involved in social media, I think that's something we'll both want to keep up with.
Yeah, I mean, like, posting an article once a week is a way to keep members remembering.
And you can even do that on Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, for like higher education, I follow a bunch of the Higher Ed Chronicle and those sort of things that, you know, if you choose to look at those articles, great. If not, they're up there and they're not gonna, you know.
Twitter is great for everything in PR. I mean,
Yeah.
it is wonderful.
Yeah.
Anything else? But I think getting together, I think that's an awesome idea. And like, definitely the membership binders, because we want positions on the
Oh,
board.
yeah, membership binders.
Like, it'd be good to like update them and just make sure they're all up to date and stuff. And
Yeah.
so I think that's really good idea.
And even if it's, like, say you already have a membership binder, like a good summer project would be scanning all of those and getting them electronically and then just putting them into Dropbox. Because nowadays, like, basically everything's going online and on the computer, so that would be a good, an easy summer project, and then it's just always there.
And
It'll
I
just
feel
help
like
you guys organize.
It's really good to even start talking about campus meetings right now because that is when you really have to plan for it. And like I've never thought of that before. And in order to get an appealing table, you're gonna want to plan ahead.
Exactly, because those first 3 days of the school year, even though you're not doing much in your classes, just fly by because you're so excited to be back and you want to see everyone. And then it was like, oh no, we need a catchy poster, and if you have all summer to work on it, you can come up with something really great.
Well, and I was even thinking too, I know that like a lot of the residence halls are trying to get more involved with homecoming and kind of competing for that. And so even getting some of those ideas about how you guys want to do homecoming, what sort of, like what you guys want to be involved with, how you're going to do so, who's going to be involved with that. It's some exciting stuff and it doesn't take a lot of thought, but just knowing that you're at least thinking about that in the back of your mind so that you can come in with a full plan, you know, it's something kind of fun, but then also it'll get the residence halls involved if you want to be too.